Welcome to Leaving Nothing to Chance, your go-to podcast where we bring you insights from some of the most influential voices in small business and personal development. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with top thought leaders, authors, and business moguls from around the world, sharing their secrets to success and strategies for growth. Tune in for exclusive content that will inspire, motivate, and equip you to take your journey to the next level. This is Leaving Nothing to Chance.
Welcome, everybody, to another show of Leaving Nothing to Chance. My name is John Solleder, and got a great guest today, Mr. Quinton Greene from Greene Health and Wellness in my original home state of New Jersey. So how are things in New Jersey today?
Things in Jersey are good. It's actually a pretty nice day. I think it hit about 78 degrees, mostly sunny, so not bad. We're getting ready for the fall weather to start coming in soon in October here.
It's beautiful up there that time of year.
Yeah, it's fall foliage is always great. It's my favorite month here in the Northeast in general, so always a good time.
Great. I'm jealous. I miss all those beautiful colors, but I don't miss the snow. So yeah, it's a trade-off with living in Texas. But anyway, Quinton, let's talk about your story because you've had a remarkable journey with your health. Why don't you share a little bit about your background?
Unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with chronic illness. My earliest memories as a child were those of suffering with chronic illness. For me, my greatest nemesis, without question, was a severe generalized anxiety and panic disorder. Nonetheless, I couldn't verbalize that as a child. I didn't know what I was experiencing, but those were my earliest memories. But from the time I was young, chronic viral and bacterial infections, I was always sick. I had OCD. I had a speech impediment known as word blockage as well, along with that. And I almost forget, but I had pyloric stenosis when I was an infant before any of that came to be. So I certainly understood. I didn't feel well as a child, and the environment at home probably could have been a bit more conducive for feeling good. So that kind of played into it for sure. But moving into my adolescent years, the chronic illness, it did not hold back. And I'll tell you, my parents did the best they could for what they knew. But me and I'm the oldest of six, but me and my brother at the time, we were raised under the thumb of conventional medicine. We went to the doctors and we did what the doctors told us. We took the antibiotics every time we were sick. So the answer was always a pharmaceutical. And that's just what we thought. That's how my parents were raised, and that's all they knew. So moving into my adolescent years, things picked up, skin issues and acne and all the other conditions I had were still there. But eventually around 18, I contracted mononucleosis, which is Epstein-Barr virus. And from that point forward, things really started to go downhill for me. In my early 20s, throughout my 20s, when I eventually got a Lyme diagnosis, which I know now is not from the bacteria of a tick, that is Epstein-Barr virus. Chronic fatigue, migraines, chronic pain started to develop, injury issues, more skin issues. I developed a skin condition called tinea versicolor. So my 20s were pretty rough for me. I wasn't real happy. Seasonal affective disorder, the anxiety was still there. But at that point, I was on medication for anxiety daily, along with other meds at different times for different things that I was dealing with, more antibiotics. I was still chronically sick all the time with more viral and bacterial infections. So my 20s weren't fun. And then in my early 30s around 30 is when things really spiraled out of control. And ultimately, I had an accident on my farm where I had a hay bale dropped on my head. And the result was a severe neurological illness, along with a condition called occipital neuralgia. And at that point, I hit rock bottom. At about 32 years old, I had to move back home with my parents. I couldn't take care of myself with the neurological illness and all the other stuff I had going on. Some other things I was dealing with TMJ. I had some Bell's palsy with that as well. And the head, neck, and face. I was really dealing with a lot of neurological type stuff, leg stiffening during sleep. I could go on and on. I forget half the things. Also, I first mentioned I always dealt with some digestive issues on and off throughout my life, acid reflux and some different things. So that was involved. But ultimately, at 32 is when I looked at my life and I said, what's the one constant here? What's the one thing that hasn't changed my whole life? And it was obvious. It was the allopathic medicine route that I'd been on, that I was brought up on. I just always took my pharmaceuticals. I believed I was genetically predisposed to experiencing these things. I believed I was a bad apple. I thought I was just unlucky and my life was going to be suffering. I happened to have a cousin who was making some dietary changes at the time. He was dealing with some major depression, some different things, and he started to make some dietary changes, started moving more towards a vegan type diet. I was on a weightlifter's diet, all the proteins and fats and stuffs, and I never really thought diet had much to do with why I wasn't feeling well. I never put two and two together. So I saw what he was doing. I recognized that I had to make a change here and try something because I couldn't keep going like this. I was going to end up I couldn't keep suffering that way. I should also mention with all that, I did develop some substance abuse issues in my late teens that stuck with me through those years. I didn't feel well, and I looked at drugs and alcohol those years. So I had that going on as well. I said, this is headed in a bad direction. And at that moment, I decided to completely abandon conventional medicine for the purposes of chronic illness. Obviously, if I had an injury or broke a bone or something like that, I was still open to it. But for when it came to my health, I had seen enough to know that not only was I not getting better, I was getting worse. And with that, I went down the rabbit hole of the alternative world and tried to figure out how to heal. And let me tell you, that was a tough world to try to get the right information and heal in. Very difficult. I spent 5 years trying to figure out how to heal, different doctors, different practitioners, all different therapies and treatments. I spent over about $25,000 to $30,000 over the course of that 5 year period trying to heal myself. And eventually, towards the end of it, I started to get the right information on what was really causing my symptoms, my conditions, my illnesses. And that came the right protocols. And it all pointed to diet. It pointed to what I was fueling my body with as a means out. And that's where I went with it. And I just kept at it with it. And eventually I got myself cleaned up. And at 37, for all intents and purposes, I had finished my healing journey. And like I said, I'll always be working on healing and working on detoxification of my body. But I woke up at 37 and I didn't have anything wrong with me anymore. I slept well. I didn't have anxiety. I had good energy. I wasn't having headaches. My skin was cleared up. I wasn't sick anymore. I wasn't getting constant colds and I had chronic sinusitis. All that stuff was gone. And it actually took me about 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a month to get used to. I had only known suffering my entire life. I didn't know what it was like to wake up and go through a day feeling good. So that was a bit of a shock for me. And it was a bit of an adjustment period. And it was great. It was a beautiful thing. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the whole healing journey. But man, I'll never forget that month when I was really finally got myself healed up and then ultimately had the idea. I felt like God was certainly calling me and pushing me into this. One other thing I'll mention with chronic illness like that and the substance abuse, I felt like a failure in my life. I was a very intelligent kid, very athletic and smart, big ambitions. Thought I could have been anything I wanted to be in life. I was spraying pesticides for a lawn care company. I had a little lawn care business. I had no passion for it. I felt like a failure. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. So at 37, because I finally got myself healed up, I was so empowered and so clear-headed. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And with no degree, no certification, I had the idea to start a business where I would help people heal and help them to heal in a more effective, more efficient, and more timely and cost-effective manner than what I had to go through in those 5 years in the alternative world when I was really trying to heal. I didn't want people to have to go through that. And I thought if I could get this information, the information I was blessed enough to receive with the right protocols and how to detoxify my body and get myself regenerate tissue and do all those things, that I can make a difference. And that's what I set out to do 5 years ago. And here we are now. And I've been helping people for 5 years now, more and more each year. And it's turned into a very nice thing. I'm very proud of all the great testimonials I have of people I heal from all different types of chronic illnesses, diseases, and even now cancer, with my first cancer healing testimonial a couple months back. So that's where we're at now, just looking to help more people heal and get them the right information. It's my passion. That's what I love to do, and it's what I'll do forever.
One of the things that's so interesting in your journey is as you study so many health people, be it Jack LaLanne was a sickly child.
Absolutely.
Jay the Juice Man Cordic played college football and got diagnosed with cancer at 20 or 21 or whatever it was, and others. I'd rather go through a list of them. But a lot of people are led to good health because of bad health, myself included. But today's about you, but I had a similar journey where if I didn't have all of that, I probably, if you don't feel good and you seek to feel good, as opposed to the person who always feels good because they're just blessed with good health from the get-go, it's kind of like you seek it. So sometimes the liability becomes an asset, so to speak.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned Jack LaLanne. That was the first juicer I purchased at 32 years old. I purchased an old Jack LaLanne juicer.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, my first source of information, the first book I opened and stuff I watched was on Robert Gershon and the Gershon therapy. That was the first exposure I had to an alternative means of healing and actually looking at what I was fueling my body with. But you're right, I would never be here right now if I didn't suffer the way I have. And I'll tell you, it served me well, because when I have clients that come to me now, they can't tell me I don't know what it's like to suffer. So I have that on them. And most of the time, I've dealt with things that they're dealing with currently. Absolutely, though. You don't know until you get yourself healed up, what life is really meant to be like. And suffering, and I look, everyone now, find me a person that's not dealing with some kind of symptom, some kind of condition. And by the way, we are taught just to normalize our illness and brush things under the rug. I have people that come to me like, oh, I feel good. I don't have anything wrong with me. By the time we're done the consult, we've got 5 or 6 different symptoms. And they're like, oh, it's normal. I said, it's not normal. I said, God doesn't want us to suffer this way. This is not okay. And I said, can you imagine your life if you didn't have that, weekly or biweekly headache or migraine, or if you didn't have that seasonal allergy every year? I said, imagine a life with that. I said, yeah, that'd be nice. I said, that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's what we're going to work towards.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about iridology. That's something I know that's part of what you do, and help people understand that, because I'm familiar with it, but I can't tell you I've got any kind of real knowledge of it. And I think a lot of people have heard of it, but they really don't know how to deal with it, apply with it, and of course, what the benefits are of it.
Sure. Let me tell you. So I didn't pick up iridology until about 3 years ago. I have I should also mention this. I started my business and started healing people with no degree, no certification. And I went into to get a holistic nutrition. I got 2 months in, and the information they had was just wrong. What they were teaching, I couldn't back it. I couldn't get behind it. Overall, I couldn't find any modality, any source of healing or method that resonated with me, that I thought had it right. And I found a true naturopath. Dr. Robert Morse actually was the first naturopath that I thought really had it figured out, at least close to how I healed and how I was getting people better. So I went to get certified as a regenerative detoxification specialist, which is a naturopath type background. But Dr. Robert Morse is an iridologist. And that was when I was first exposed to iridology. And I knew nothing about it at the time. And I said, wow, I said, this looks very interesting. And within 2 months, I was certified as an iridologist because it was just so impressive to me. What iridology is, though, quite simply, from the time we are conceived, everything in our body, in terms of the state of our tissue on a cellular level, the state of our soft tissue, our organs, our glands, our body systems, the state of that tissue is relayed by means of our autonomic nervous system, and it's displayed in the iris of our eye. Our irises are literally a window into our insides, and they've been keeping score of what's happening inside of our body since the time we were conceived. Hence, people know that their eye color changes. But if they take pictures early on in life and every couple of years, they'll see more things happening in the iris. They'll see more patterns developing, more character. Things will change in the iris. And that's just not because it happens. It's because things inside your body are generally going south, and your eyes are recording weakness in tissue as your organs and glands, as we get older, obviously, tissue doesn't perform the way that it used to. We get a lot of bad things in our bodies that affect our soft tissue and weaken it, cause it not to function properly, is how we get symptoms, conditions, illnesses, cancer as well. So I started looking at it when I took pictures of my eyes, and I said, wow, I did my own iris reading. I had Dr. Robert Morse actually do my iris reading as well, just to confirm as I was learning it. I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And I found out how accurate it was, incredibly accurate, to where I couldn't even believe it. It was so fascinating to me. And I started doing iridology analysis for my clients and people coming to me. And I had enough people look at me like I was a supernatural, some kind of wizard or something. I know nothing about these people. And I was able to tell them things that only they knew sometimes, that I certainly didn't know. about a state of their thyroid or their liver, or their kidney, or the state of their lymphatic systems, their GI tracts. And now I can't see exact diseases or illnesses, conditions. All I see is the state of weakness in a tissue. So, for example, someone comes to me, and so with organs and glands, there's 4 different levels of weakness that you can see. There's acute, subacute, chronic, and degenerative, being the worst off tissue. Now, someone would come to me and I'd look at, by the way, the right eye shows the right side of the body, the left eye shows the left side of your body. So someone could come to me and thyroid, so you're going to see thyroid in both eyes. And I could look in an eye and see the area where the thyroid is relayed in the iris. And I could see something like a chronic weakness in someone's thyroid. And I could say to them with great certainty, what autoimmune diagnosis did they label you with? You hypo, you hyper, you have nodules, you have cysts. And they'd be like, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, I couldn't pick that exact one, but I knew that their thyroid tissue was weakened enough that they had received some kind of diagnosis. And I could do that with any area of the body for the most part. I could look at a GI tract and be like, what they hit you with, an IBS diagnosis, a Crohn's diagnosis, wherever it may be. And it just was incredible at how accurate it was. And ultimately, though, iridology, it gave me the advantage in getting my clients better even faster than I already was. I had the upper hand because I was able to look in, and iridology can show us things that blood work hasn't yet shown or is missing, that imaging hasn't yet shown or is missing, and even symptomology. Someone feels good in a certain area and it just symptoms haven't been created yet. They're on their way to, but iridology allows me to look in and see something might be happening here in the very near future. So that's the absolute beauty of iridology. It makes no mistakes. It's not subject to failure, missing something in blood work, or imaging, missing something. The eyes have been recording everything. I can look right in, and that helps me to get my clients on the proper protocols. I can go right after something because I can see it in there. Then we looked at their symptomology, and we combine all that, and I can put them on the right herbal and supplement program, the right diet, the right cleanses, just for what they have going on. And the result was quicker healing. Clients heal so quick from things, even my head still spins from it. And how quickly the body can respond with healing when you actually know right where to go and right where to address when it comes to chronic illness.
So how important is it to detox before we heal or as we heal?
The only way, in my world, the only way to heal is detox. When I'm looking at weaknesses and tissues and stuff throughout the body and different symptoms, it's the same culprits all the time. Now, look, we're told in the allopathic world, we have the gene blame game. We have now the autoimmune blame game. And with women especially, we've always had the hormone blame game. 3 big targets. By the way, that is the way that medical science and the industries always kept the blame on us and our faulty bodies. You have faulty genes. That's why you're dealing with this. You have a faulty immune system that's made a mistake. That's why you have this autoimmune diagnosis. Women, what they did to them was a crime, blaming everything on the hormones. So getting the right information and the true causes of why we're suffering, which are 100%, the major players are toxins, which include mostly a lot of toxic heavy metals, pesticides, poisons, petrochemicals, plastics. Along with that, we have radiation is another massive problem. We've also had a viral explosion. Epstein-Barr virus now is mutated to over 65 strains. We've got shingles viruses, non-rashing shingles, HHV6, 7 undiscovered, later ones, 10, 11, 12. So there's been a pathogenic explosion. Toxins are more prevalent than ever before. So we get all these bad things into our body, and medical science simply lacks the technology to see a lot of this stuff. They can't go into someone's thyroid with a Hashimoto's diagnosis and see that Epstein-Barr virus that's drilling into that thyroid wall, creating viral neurotoxin and waste that's inflaming that thyroid tissue, creating an actual antibody, the immune system creating an antibody, not an autoantibody. The immune system's not attacking a healthy thyroid. It's tagged an invader. It's tagged the pathogen in that thyroid that's consuming toxins and different troublemakers, as well as foods we eat, creating that inflammation in the thyroid. So all I do for my clients is we go in and detoxify their bodies. We go in and we pull out whatever is in there that doesn't belong there. And by the way, we were born into this stuff now, hence it looks like a genetic issue. Mom and dad are passing down their troublemakers. They're passing down their mercury, their aluminum, their arsenic. They're passing down their EBV, their pesticides, their plastics. All these things are being passed down, especially mom to child. And so to me, healing is detoxification. No matter what a person has going on, we spend we target with some supplements and some herbs, but the ultimate detoxification process doesn't change. I'm detoxifying a person's entire body. It only works that way. I can't pick an area to detoxify and not detoxify someone else. When you're on the proper diet and the proper healing program, you're going to detoxify your entire body at the same time. And when I do that, whatever the person has going on just seems to get better every single time as we really practice detoxification. And with that, regeneration of tissue. Hence, I'm a regenerative detoxification specialist. We don't just detoxify tissue. We go and detoxify the tissue. Then we start to regenerate tissue. And that's all our beautiful bodies and how God designed us and our natural healing mechanisms. We can go in there and the body has the ability, innate ability to detoxify tissue and regenerate that tissue, strengthening it back up. Clean and strengthen, clean and strengthen. That's what I tell my clients. And so that's what we do. Detoxify is healing in my world. Long-winded answer for that, but.
Hey, great answer. So let's talk about longevity. It's a key word now. We hear all kinds of biohacks and magazines dedicated to this subject and podcasts dedicated to this subject and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about that a little bit. Longevity. What would be your 3 or more, if you want, or less, up to you, 3 things, at least 3 things that people can do right now? They hear our little conversation here and they go, I'm going to listen to Quinton because he said I should do what?
Number 1, any type of healing, any type of longevity, if you're trying to live longer, it has to start with a proper detoxification program. That is the basis. What we fuel our body with and the ability to detoxify our bodies is always first and foremost. I tell my clients, they come to me like, I go to the gym and I do massage and I'm at the chiropractor and I do ice baths and this and that. I said, you can do all the different therapies, you can do all the meditation and yoga and stretch or whatever you want to do. You can do all that you want. It's not going to pull a piece of mercury out of your brain that's causing your ADHD. It's not going to pull a virus out of a joint that's causing your rheumatoid arthritis. The only way to do that is through diet and the right supplementation with herbs and stuff to go in there and pull it out. You can't get it out any other way. So that's always first and foremost. Learn how to properly detoxify your body and you're going to live longer. Second to that, there's a couple things I really love for longevity. I'm a huge fan of the sauna. One of the best ways we can help our body detoxify is sweat. And infrared sauna, even better. I'm a huge fan of the sauna. I like to get in at least 5 to 6 days a week. Some people overdo the sauna, though. I don't like that. Too much heat, too long, not good for the adrenals, not good for people with chronic illness. But get in the sauna, get yourself sweating every day, depending on how hot it is in there. But get in, get a good sweat going, and get out of there. Love that for longevity, living longer, and that works hand in hand with the proper detoxification program with the diet. Number 2, I'm a huge fan of nature. Get outside, get sunlight, breathe in the fresh air, go out in the woods and the trees and mountains and go out and beaches and spend time in nature. It's never let me down. I heal and I go out in nature every single day if I can. I almost do, but all my clients, I say, get outside. You don't need to be running or just go outside and walk, be in nature, go pray in nature. Go ground yourself in nature. Take your shoes off, ground yourself, get sunlight, breathe in the air, do some breathing practices out in nature. So that'd be another thing that I think can really help someone live longer and be healthy, is to get outside and be in nature. Number 3 for me, and what I've seen my clients, is faith. Get right with God. Whatever God that might be for you. I'm not saying everyone has to be like, I'm a devout Christian. And I can't tell you how important that's been, having a good, strong faith and having that as the backbone of any healing program. The more faith my clients have, the faster they heal. I can see that. Clients who don't have faith, they don't heal. They heal, but not as effectively as those who have really strong faith and the ones who are constantly working on that area of their life. So those 3 things I would say, and in conjunction with, and you could argue, some would argue that faith is most important before a detox program, but I think you catch my drift with it.
All things work for good.
Absolutely, absolutely. They all work synergistically together when it comes to healing. And there's other great things. Obviously, I like all the practices. I like massage and I like exercise as well. I like meditation. I will tell you, since we're on the topic, one thing I do not like for someone that's chronically ill is these ice baths. I know it's the real trend right now. It's very popular. But if you're a person that's dealing with real chronic illness, generally you have weakened adrenal glands and that neurological system's a little compromised. And I think that these ice baths are counterproductive for that. Your body can't tell the difference between when you fall through ice into a freezing pond, or you get yourself into a regulated ice bath. The adrenals start to pump out the adrenaline immediately. It goes into fight or flight, thinks you're freezing. And that's the last thing you want to do as a chronically ill person, is to constantly be having those adrenals. The adrenals are so critical in chronic illness. You don't want to have them pumping out unnecessary adrenaline every day because you want to get in an ice bath. If you don't have any chronic illness and you're in fairly good shape and health, I'm more okay with it. But if you're chronically ill and you're really suffering, I'm not a fan of the cold baths and the ice plunging things.
Great, great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your business. You're in, let me see, now you're south of Trenton, New Jersey, so you're down towards Philly?
I'm all over. I have clients all over the country. I travel all over the country to see my clients wherever they are. Like you, I don't spend winter in Jersey. I head to Florida. Last winter, I lived in Scottsdale. So yeah, I'm mobile, but my home city is Philadelphia, and I was born and raised on a farm over in South Jersey. So that's where I'm here now, but I won't be here for much longer as we move towards the cold weather.
So that being the case, so if somebody wants to do a consult with you, if they're in California and you're in Jersey, or you're in Florida and they're in Washington, you do Zoom meetings, or how do you deal with them?
Absolutely. We hop right on a call with virtual now. If you're right there. So I have a client now in Ibiza. I had a client in Saudi Arabia. So it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
The protocols, I can get you the protocols no matter where you are. I can get you healed no matter where you're at. That doesn't matter to me. But I do like to visit all my clients if possible. So I will take trips out and see my clients, try to see my clients at least once at some point while they're on my healing program, which is generally, by the way, only about 4 months long. That's all I need with someone to get them healed. The standard program is 4 months, but I like to meet my clients whenever possible, and I'll make a way to get to them usually.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Best way is my Instagram. That's at Greene Health and Wellness. That's where I work from. I have a website, but it's under construction right now. But then that'll be greenehealthandwellness.com. But right now, Instagram is your best means. I'm on Facebook as well, Greene Health and Wellness there as well, or a simple email, greenehealthandwellness@yahoo.com would work as well. So any of those avenues. But all my testimonials, where I generally work from, you go to my Instagram page and you'll see a laundry list, just all testimonials of all people I've healed up from all different types of things, along with some informational posts. And there's some iridology posts on there as well. I'm getting better at the social media thing. I don't love it. I have to do it.
Hey, I'm with you. Hey, but your Greene is with an E on the end, is it not?
Yep. Greene Health and Wellness. So at Greene Health and Wellness on Instagram.
Great, great. Quinton, this has been great. Thank you so much for a little bit of new knowledge, number one for me and for our listeners. And before we close, any other advice?
I'll tell you one thing, guys. If you're out there and you're watching this and you're struggling with something other than late stage cancer, late stage disease, sometimes when things have progressed too far, but only in those cases, you can heal. I don't care what you have going on. I don't care what your doctors have told you. I don't care what your belief system has been, what your family and friends tell you. I don't care how long you've been suffering. God made our bodies with incredible natural healing mechanisms designed to detoxify and regenerate tissue. And when you start doing the right things, your body will respond and you can absolutely heal. I'd be happy to show you the way, because I tell you, there's not a lot of people out there who know how to get those natural healing mechanisms activated. Very few practitioners out there understand chronic illness well and can truly pull you out of something, not just, cut back on a symptom a little bit. I'm talking about real healing. But keep the faith, and I promise you, you can heal.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check back weekly for more exciting episodes. And don't miss Ink and Insight every Wednesday, where we celebrate iconic authors and dive into their impactful works.